Good morning and welcome to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I'm broadcasting live from Cape May County, New Jersey via the Exceptional Conservative Network and SHR Media. And I'm so happy that I have the tax mama, the one and only tax mama, Eva Rosenberg, with me this morning, and we're going to talk about tax scams that are going on now that we have all of our information in and we have filed our taxes. And if we don't have our tax returns in just yet, there are people out to get your money before you get it. So we're going to talk about that this morning with the tax mama in a little bit. So I'm very excited about that. And it feels like, oh gosh, I was telling her a little bit before the show that it feels like every bit of Monday morning. And actually, I read I have to give you like my little nerd, my little nerd, my little nerd information. So I read an article years ago about why there actually is a scientific reason why we feel so unwell on Monday mornings, and that is because it's like your little nerd tip of the day. Um, that's because there are actually parts of the brain that you use for work that literally just kind of take a nap on the weekend. So over the weekend, when you shut your brain down, so to speak, um, and tell your brain to go ahead and take a nap because I won't be using all those higher functioning things over the weekend. On Monday morning, your brain does somewhat of a crash. And of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be Monday, obviously. But for many of us, it's Monday morning. And your brain does somewhat of a crash on Monday, and you all of a sudden start using that part of the brain again. And it's sudden, and it feels like a crash. So your brain is kind of doing okay, wake up, time to work now, and you're not always completely ready for it. So, so and so when it happens, we feel crappy on Monday morning. So that's the situation, and I'm feeling I don't know what. Whenever I sleep really well, the result when I get up is just like but but I'm gonna do my best to be on top of things this morning. And thank goodness I have an expert and the fantasticness that is Eva Rosenberg with me this morning. So I'm so happy as I was trying to throw my face together this morning. I was thinking that I was like, oh, thank you, Lord, that I have Eva on this morning. My life is just going to be so much easier. So anyway, selfishly, my life is going to be a lot easier because she's a real pro, and it should be a great conversation. So I'm looking forward to it. So what's going on in the news? Well, as I told you on Friday, there was an election in France held yesterday, and there were 11 candidates in the election, and it's a major test, so to speak, because of the populism that's going on, and most everyone giving up on their two party system. France has a similar system as we do. They have two major parties, and their people are sick of theirs too. I think because of the way it's designed, the same thing just tends to happen scientifically and cyclically, and that kind of thing. So they had an election, and like I said, it was after the Brexit, what happened with President Trump. Wanted to see what was going to happen, and now there's going to be a head-to-head between Le Pen and Macron. So should be interesting to see what happens. Uh, right now, Le Pen, I believe, has the lead. So, and that would actually make sense, it would be very parallel to what's going on in our country with Donald Trump. So with Donald Trump having won, Le Pen is, the quote unquote anti-immigrant candidate, which I don't view it as anti-immigrant. I view it as, anti, maybe, anti us getting blown up, because they're having some issues with their immigration population over there. Just saying. I hope that doesn't sound, but it's Monday. I'm sorry. I'm not as articulate and diplomatic as I probably should be. My brain is still powering up. So if that sounds bad, I'm really sorry. They're having some issues. I'm just saying. Like Paris, France, they're having some serious issues with their open borders over there. And so you have one candidate who is like, look, we need to lock it down. And that's Le Pen. And we have the other one that is saying that we need to lock it down, but it is saying it in a kinder and gentler way. Donald Trump. No, he's actually been a lot better. I'm going to behave myself. That's the election cycle, Melanie. That's the election cycle, Business Diva. This is now the new and improved supporting our president, Business Diva. But I'm saying, behave yourself anyway. Getting on my nerves. That foolishness. So, what else is going on? Oh, gosh. Oh, he said there's going to be a, Donald Trump, speaking of President Trump, said there's going to be a huge announcement regarding tax cuts on Wednesday. Now, here's the thing about having a businessman / celebrity as a president. He does a lot of what the youngins used to refer to as boosting. The youngins in urban America here's your urban America tip of the day. There used to be a slang term called boosting, meaning that you're exaggerating, and it actually isn't boosting, but me being the person that I am, I can't say boosting on the radio. It's really like boosting. But, Donald Trump does a lot of boosting, just saying. so, he's saying these big announcements of these big tax cuts, but by and large, from my understanding, took a look at it over the weekend, and it's really just more of a PR thing. And listen, I've been complaining. My conservative friends will tell you that one of the things that I complain most about being a Republican is that we don't do enough PR. And be careful what you ask for. Eye roll. I'm sure my boss, Kim McClinton, is probably in the chat room saying, I can't believe she's rolling her eyes. Because I roll my eyes all the time. But really. So, it really is just I wouldn't go so far as to say a PR stunt, but it is a good idea to let the American people know what you're planning on doing and what proposals are on the table. So my understanding of what is going on Wednesday with the announcement is really that it's going to be more of a, hey, let's let you know where we're headed with these tax cuts. So, all right, Mr. President, do your thing, but you just better be able to back it up. And if you don't, Republicans like myself and my friends who are really conservatives, we're coming for you. So, just know that. I mean that politically, of course. I don't want the Secret Service to show up at my house. I mean that politically speaking, not physically. All right. Almost done my coffee. This is what kind of morning it is. See? And those of you who are listening on Spreaker or iTunes, or some other only audible way. When I said see, you can also see me on Ustream, and I just held up my almost completely. I'm almost completely done my cup of coffee. That's what I'm trying to say. And usually I'm just getting started. Okay, so one last thing. I read this thing called the Skim. every morning. If you don't get the skim, SKIMM, you really should. And you know, you can send the check to Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey, skim. I'm just saying. Um, but it really is fantastic, and it gives you a breakdown of, like, what's going on in the world in very simplistic, like fourth grade terms, which is really cool. But they have a quote of the day, and me being a nerd, I just thought this was hilarious. Um, their quote of the day today says, "Well, she's obviously desperate." And it says Selma Hayek's first thoughts after finding texts on her husband's phone from a woman named Elsa. Elsa is a language learning app. I just thought that was hilarious. But, you know, that's me. Anyway, when we come back from the break, we will have the one and only Miss Eva Rosenberg, the tax mama. Can't wait to talk to her. We will be back in a few moments.
Hello, Wine. Ron Edwards. Just like their communist-oriented comrades in places like Berkeley University, leading a group of Christians in singing the Christmas classic, Yes, Jesus Loves Me. Officials stated that the song was an illegal religious activity. Often the United States as more and more generations of American students are indoctrinated against our constitutionally limited republic form of government, we the people face a greater chance of losing our own liberties. Christians are perhaps the most persecuted group of people on earth. Even here in America, the mere mention of Jesus Christ can get you suspended from school or even ostracized at the workplace. But even in the throes of global bigotry against Jesus, the worst thing Christians can do is cower in a corner and accept being the whipping post of the world. Be not ashamed of Christ, and he shall not be ashamed of you. I'm Ron Edwards. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
I'm David Longoria, trumpeter and singer. Join me Saturday, May 20th as we celebrate the 19th annual White House Day of Prayer. We will join together for prayer and uplifting and leave our politics behind. There will be leaders from across the country as well as artists singing and praying together for our people, our nation, and our leaders. I will be joined by a 1,000 voices choir as we perform my new song of unity, We Are One. Come to the White House lawn in the Ellipse Park Saturday, May 20th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Register now online for free at whitehouseprayer.org.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservative.com.
Good morning. Okay, we are back. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette. I apologize for the technical difficulties we had earlier. I was trying to locate the issue, and I believe that I did. So hopefully things are going to be a bit more quiet, and you'll be able to hear everything from now on. I want to tell everyone, too, that Tax Mama is in the chat, which is fantastic. So you want to join Tax Mama in the chat room. Also in the chat this morning is one of my faithful listeners, Ms. Claudia Cheek. Love her. Hello, Ms. Claudia. The exceptional one, Kenneth McClinton, is also there. Let's see who else is there. We also have Pastor Shannon Wright of the Right Way with Shannon and Mike, which comes on from 7 to 9 in the morning. So we are happy to have her there. But most importantly, the Tax Mama herself is in the chat room. So you should jump in there, go to tecn.biz and join us in the chat room. Join us in the chat room. It's going to be a good time. So let me give the one and only Ms. Eva Rosenberg a proper introduction. Ms. Eva Rosenberg, the internet's tax mama, answers tax questions, and provides free daily tax quips, podcasts weekly. Ask Tax Mama easing and a wealth of resources to help folks like you deal with your personal and business tax issues at www.taxmama.com. Now, in addition to that, she's a syndicated national communist writing for Dow Jones MarketWatch.com. She teaches tax law and representation to tax professionals. She's also a popular speaker at tax workshops for internet businesses, and you will see why in a moment. She is a favorite tax guest of radio show hosts around the country like myself, because she's usually got an interesting and helpful twist on tax laws and strategies, which is oh so true. Let me tell you some more about how the tax mama got to be so smart. She has a BA in accounting, a master's in international business. She's an enrolled agent. She has an enrolled agent credential. Come on, Melanie. Monday sneaking up on me. In other words, she's authorized to represent taxpayers for the Internal Revenue Service. And she's been solving taxpayers' problems for over 20 years. Good morning, Eva Rosenberg, Tax Mama. How in the world are you, woman?
Good morning. Whoa, what a long introduction. I thought it was going to take the whole show.
I tried to be efficient, but I wanted to get it all in there because I've had you on the show a couple of times, and I don't think that I've given you a proper introduction. So I wanted to make sure that I did that.
That's so wonderful. The important thing is people can get answers to tax questions for free at taxmama.com before you do something you'll regret later. That, and I'm an enrolled agent, and if you want to know what an enrolled agent is, I've just posted a link.
I love it. I love it. And that means that she just posted a link there in the chat room. And like I said, if you go to tecn.biz, you will be able to see the link right there so you know what an enrolled agent is. Thank you so much for doing that. That's one of the things I love about having Tax Mama on the show. She's very helpful like that. And as we're talking about different things, she is apt to do that. You know, she'll post certain links in the chat room. She'll answer certain questions. So if you have a question for a tax mama, go ahead in the chat and ask. And she, I am sure, will answer any questions you might have. We're going to talk about tax scams that are going on now. And the IRS distributes a long list of them every year. And I'm sure that because, and I'm sure you experience this with your clients, that taxpayers are so diligent in making sure that they read every bit of paperwork that comes from the IRS and things like that. I'm sure they're all on top of all the scams.
Absolutely. Yes. People read everything that they get, and when they come to tax professionals after they get into trouble, they don't bring us a 12-foot stack of unopened envelopes. That's very true.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
No, that's unfortunately the people who actually open their letters manage to find ways to get out of trouble. The people who don't come and pay us a lot of money.
And for that, I am grateful. and I'm sure you are too. A few of the tax schemes that go on, and of course with the internet being what it is, has to do with technology, such as phishing and phone scams. Now, are you familiar with phishing at all? Have you ever had a taxpayer that's been like a victim of phishing?
Not my clients, okay, because I tell them never to open any email that looks like it came from the IRS, because it didn't.
Exactly.
So, and I had to change my email address. I no longer use taxmama@taxmama.com because I was getting 3,000 spam emails a day, many of them phishing.
Exactly.
So here's the deal, guys. Unless you're a tax professional who has a specific relationship with people at the IRS whom you know, You are not getting an email from the IRS.
Exactly.
And if you are, it's only because you subscribed to a newsletter. Okay, so you are not getting an email from the IRS.
Exactly. And by the way, when I say fishing, I'm not talking about getting a fishing rod with some line and sitting on the side of your favorite body of water and baiting a hook and getting fish. I'm talking about I just think I should probably clarify. I'm talking about phishing, PHISING, phishing. And that has to do with technology. And it's when people send, as Tax Mama has alluded to, it's when scammers will send you fake emails or links to websites. And the goal is to steal your personal information. And in this particular case, to steal steal your tax return. But the IRS does not do that. And here's the thing, it says that in all of the IRS's information, like everything they send you says like, hey, we don't we don't send any emails. So if you get an email from us requesting information, it wasn't us, like you just said.
And if you do get those, the IRS has an email address, phishing, PHISHING @irs.gov, and they have a report phishing scams and online scams page and gives you instructions on what to do. Now, there are really so many of them, because we are not joking around over here. Melanie is very serious, because so many people have become victims of one kind of tax scam or another, that billions of dollars have been stolen from people. And, we have the email phishing scams and the phone scams. And if you're following the news, and I know Melanie tells you about stuff all the time, you found out that in October, they raided this place in India and wiped out this entire nest of these people who were calling the United States, calling you, and stealing money from you. And recently, they also arrested a guy in Florida who ran a team of people called runners, who would harass you and come to your door and take your money and send it off to India. They collected, they got to keep millions, but they collected the money and sent it off to India. The IRS isn't going to call you and threaten you that way. So if you think that somebody is calling you, and now these guys are doing this, I'm getting automated messages from these guys now. It used to be live people. I just hang up on anything. If you really think, because you're afraid and you're in trouble, you really think you owe the IRS money, call the IRS directly. It's 800-829-1040. Like 1040, the tax form. 829 stands for tax. So it's 800-TAX-1040. Call them directly or call a tax professional. Never talk to somebody who shows up on your phone, in your email, or at your door.
Wow, that is incredible. Do you guys see why I was happy that I had the Tax Mama on this morning? That is fantastic. Absolutely, positively fantastic advice. And so very true. I had no idea that they were quite that aggressive. I mean, wow.
Oh, I can't have any sympathy for these people who've been arrested, because the kinds of pushiness and meanness and threats that they made to people. It's not like they're innocent telephone solicitors who didn't know any better. They were aggressively horrid to people, many old people. And we had a meeting a while back with a stakeholder liaison team at the IRS, and said the average person who gets caught up in this gives them about $5,000, and I think the average was raised because one person actually gave them $500,000.
Oh.
So it's not just dumb people.
Wow. Now this is interesting. And this, I shouldn't say this never occurred to me, but it never occurred. It never. I, I I try to like hope that everybody's like this like honest people, right? But they're so
Sure.
not. But but
Sure.
return.
And have I got a bridge for you?
Yeah, exactly. So what about return preparer fraud? You represent and you teach tax preparers, right? So how do we know when we have a tax preparer that may be a fraudulent or an unscrupulous tax return preparer?
Oh, you're not supposed to tell people there are unscrupulous tax preparers, are you?
I'm sorry, but
Yeah, and this pisses us off. We are
I'll
trying to
bet.
root these people out from among us. And, you know, the people who work with fraudulent tax preparers, there are two kinds. One that steal from the government and the other that steal from you. The people who work with the ones that steal from the government aren't really that unaware. When you're going to somebody who's able to get you really large refunds, larger than anybody else around, there has to be a reason, don't you think? And what are these people doing, the ones that are stealing from the government? What they're doing is they are adding things to your tax return, like children you don't have, education you didn't get, a mortgage interest on a house you don't own. So, folks, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy from me when you're getting an extra $5,000 or larger refund because you participated in tax fraud. And don't tell me that when you looked at your tax return, you didn't know that you don't have those children or those mortgages.
So you're saying that it's not possible that you didn't notice the 5 kids that were on your tax return? That's what you're saying? I didn't notice that I got to deduct and that I'm head of household now.
Yeah, you didn't notice that. So, folks, I get calls from people all the time because their preparer got raided, and now the IRS is going through that person's entire list of clients and auditing them. And there's not a lot we can do for you because how did you not know these things? And when you sign that tax return, there's that thing called a jurat at the very bottom, right above your signature.
Oh.
And it says, I read it, and I know what's in here. So please, don't tell me you're stupid, because I respect you too much to believe you're that stupid.
So are you saying, and of course, when you hand people their prepared tax return and they sign it to say that they read it, they of course sit and read it first, right?
Of course they didn't. Plus, here's the other thing. A lot of these people who do this don't actually sign your tax return. They're maybe using something like the consumer TurboTax software and sending in tax returns without signing them as the paid preparer. So you have that other thing. Now, let me tell you about the other kind of fraudulent preparer, the kind that steals from you. A lot of them may be these same people. What they do is you sign the form for the electronic filing, and what they do is they add some of these things afterwards, and you don't see them, and they add a bank account or replace your bank account number for the refund, and they increase the amount of refund that you're going to get, but it goes to them. They get the money when IRS goes and sorts all this out later. They will try to get that money back from you, even though you might not have known about it. And truly, I have heard from some people that even their relatives who are preparing taxes for relatives and friends have done this to them. So be very, very careful if you're going to like a storefront or somebody's home who doesn't have credentials. Most of the time, these are people who are not enrolled agents, CPAs, or attorneys. And they are probably not so much in California, Oregon, or Maryland, where the tax professional must be licensed to prepare tax returns.
Oh.
So So the rest of the states, the other 47 states and all the territories, there's no licensing requirement at all. A 10-year-old could be doing your tax return. It makes no difference. There's no minimum licensing. So please, be very careful. Don't go to refund mills. Don't go to people who come up with these absurd refunds. Work with people who are long established, have real honest-to-goodness businesses, and real credentials so that you know that what they're doing. And if they're not coming up with a really good refund, or they're coming up with you owing money, there may be a reason for that.
Wow.
Like the guy who made, $60,000 and had $2,000 withheld, and he's mad at his preparer because he owes money.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm Ustreaming, okay, and I'm spending my whole show with my mouth open. That does not look good, and I'm blaming you. I seriously am though. I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, you are exposing, and I'm so glad that you're telling my audience this, because it really is important to understand these things and understand this goes on. Now, a lot of what we've talked about so far have been things that can happen on your personal return. I suppose they can happen on business returns as well. But let's talk a little bit about some of the ways that fraudulent tax preparers will scam businesses, such as excessive claims for business credits, for example.
Oh, well, there are a number of other things, excuse me, that that fraudulent preparers can do to businesses. There are so many things. And one of them is businesses have to pay payroll taxes. And sometimes the payroll taxes don't get to the IRS. They may look like they came out of your bank account, but they went to the fraudulent preparer. In fact, there were a couple of companies, payroll services, legit-looking payroll services that had been in business for a long time, and they absconded with their people's money. They went off to the Caymans or someplace where there's no extradition.
Wow.
And the business owner was stuck having to pay the taxes again, even though they legitimately paid it. And let me tell you something about when this happens to you and your payroll processor takes your money and you've already paid it. Please call the Taxpayer Advocate Service. I talked to them about this issue at one of those stakeholder liaison meetings, and they were in opposition to the IRS's policy about trying to get the business owner to pay all the money again. The Taxpayer Advocate said they would help the business only pay the part that was withheld from the employee. That's called the trust fund recovery penalty, because it was withheld from the employee. It was their withholding, their Social Security, their Medicare, and so that's sometimes less than half of the money that is otherwise owed. It's still a burden. Now, there is a way to overcome this, my friends, okay? You don't have to allow yourself to be a victim when you have a tax preparer or a payroll service handling your payroll. What you use is something called Eftps, which you can find at eftps.gov. It's the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System.
Okay.
And the Eftps lets you make your payroll payments directly to the IRS from your bank account. If you do that, it never hits the payroll service or your accountant's hands in the first place. It goes straight from you to the IRS, and you're not going to be in a position to have to get hit twice.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We have the one and only tax mama, Eva Rosenberg, on the line. We're going to go into a commercial break in about, 30 seconds or so. I'm really working on my timing. And Yes, we're going to go to a commercial break right now. And when we come back on the other side of the break, I want you to tell my listeners about your books and things like that, and where they can contact you and avail themselves of your fantastic services. We will be right back in a few moments. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie.
I'm Ken McClinton, chairman of the Exceptional Conservative Network. Never has the cry for economic liberty been more resounding in urban America than on Election Day 2016. It's the economy. All real change begins with the American entrepreneur. Socialism did not work. Progressivism stole the wealth of individuals and families. You voted for something different. Real change. But what does real change look and sound like? It looks like Las Vegas, and it sounds like Freedom Fest 10. Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds, is the popular liberty-minded conference at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas from July 19th to the 22nd. Hear the voices of the urban freedom movement: Deneen Borelli, Larry Elder, Gina Lofton, Helen Rowley, Juan Pablo Andlande, and Ziad Abdel-Noah. Share ideas with powerful liberty movement figures like Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Anthony Scaramucci, Jennifer Grossman, Naomi Brockwell, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Peter Schiff, and our keynote speaker this year, William Shatner. Your money, your liberty, your freedom, your city. Come for the real and return with the change. Register now at freedomfest.com. That's freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all caps code TECN. God bless you. We'll see you there.
Hello, this is Leslie Ann Stoffel with The Real Clear Israel. Join me every Sunday morning at 10:05 Eastern Time on the Exceptional Conservative Network, where we'll be discussing Israel with guests from Israel and around the world.
That's The Real Clear Israel, 10:05 Sunday on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and you're
so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
Where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, conservative by choice. It's Reverend Ralph Chittum's The Right Guy on the Exceptional Conservative Network from 4:05 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The Right Guy on TECN. Hi, my name is Willie Lawson of The Willie Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. They told me that I needed to be humble, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I decided to be awesome instead. That's The Willie Lawson Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. here on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
I will tell you what, we are back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette. And I'll tell you what, no matter how many times I listen to Willie Lawson's promo, I cannot help but laugh because he is awesome. I'm just saying. He actually is also humble, but that promo is just so funny. Anyway, I've heard it 50 times and I laugh every time I hear it. Um, and the Willie Lawson show comes on just before Money Talk with Melanie at 9 a.m. on the Exceptional Conservative Network. You would do yourself well to check it out. Tax Mama.
Isn't that a great feeling?
He really is fantastic. Tax Mama. Before we go, Tax Mama posted in the chat room. We actually have a shortened interview format now, but you want to go in the chat room to talk about another topic, which is new IRS outside collection folks that have been hired. And she posted a link in the chat room to talk about that. Before we go, I do want Tax Mama to tell us about the titles of her books, where we can get them, and how we can contact Tax Mama, and also, of course, about your website before we go. And please, I'm sure are you going to stay in the chat room for the rest of the show?
Sure.
Okay.
Not sure. I might. We'll see.
Okay. She'll stay in as long as she can. So you might want to jump in there now. But tell us about your books, please, and tell us about the website.
Cool. The books that are important to you folks are two of them. Deduct Everything, which deals with a lot of deductions and also ways to make money. It also gives you some tips on how to make money from home and how to deal with the tax issues on them. And you can get that at Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And the other one is Small Business Taxes Made Easy. And this is for anybody who's in business, whether you're starting out or you have been in business for years. It's about more than the tax savings of being a business. It's how to get your business organized and streamlined so you become more profitable. And it also helps you think about an exit plan. What do you want to do when you want to leave the business? It gives you some ideas on how to think about, rather than walking away and throwing away a valuable business, what are your other alternatives and how can you plan for them? Both of the books are available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookstores, online, anywhere. And they are both award winners.
Of course they are.
International Book Award for Deduct Everything, and this is the third edition of Small Business Taxes Made Easy. Came out in February and already won an Axiom Gold Award. So some people think that these books are amazing, not just me. So that's cool.
Congratulations!
I like that.
Congrats on that. Well deserved. Absolutely well deserved.
Really. And I want you to know that my website, taxmama.com, where I've invited you to come and ask your questions, you just click on Ask a Free Question. We're not trying to sell you anything. I really am trying to help you avoid a problem before it happens. And then if you've already gotten into trouble, to solve it afterwards. We don't accept clients. We're not looking for clients. I will refer you to people if you need them, if I think you shouldn't be doing it alone, because the tax system has gotten absurdly complicated. And, as Melanie and Ken and I have talked about before, we would all like to see it simplified substantially. And we're hoping that when President Trump unveils his plan, which already sounds conflicted from his various spokespeople about whether it's going to be short-term or long-term, we're hoping there's going to be something solid in there. But it's not as easy as he thinks it is. He's never worked with with a Congress before and all that entails.
Well,
but we're hoping.
That does make things a little more complex.
Yeah. You live in Washington, or at least Ken lives in Washington. He's there in the middle of that. You've been teaching and dealing with this stuff. You're a little bit more aware of what happens trying to get a law passed. It's a lot harder than it looks on the outside.
Indeed.
So, we pray that there's going to be something useful coming out of that in this administration. Ronald Reagan made it one of the most complicated tax systems ever with the Tax Reform Act of 1986, where we were hoping for simplification. God. But, these entertainment people, really like to play with our tax laws.
They really do.
So anyway, seriously, do come and get free answers, get information about the books. They're designed to save you a lot of time and money and make your life easier. And they're fun to read.
I am totally sure about that. This is the Tax Mama, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the one, the only Eva Rosenberg, the Tax Mama. Thank you so very much for being
thank
on.
you for having me. It's always such fun.
Yes, indeed. Love having you on, and I'm sure I'll have you on again very, very soon. Thank you so very much. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a less taxing day.
I love that. Bye. She was I hope that the audience found her as absolutely fantastic as I find her to be. And not only that, she just delivers the information in such a way that it's completely understandable and just unravels the complexities of our tax laws, which is one of the things that we absolutely adore about Tax Mama. Now, school is in session. It is time for your 5 minutes of personal finance. Now, yesterday, I did, or I should say last night, I posted on Facebook a little promo of what we were going to talk about today for the 5 minutes of personal finance. And I was telling the audience that I was doing some research on the TED Talk website, and I ran across this TED Talk that was called Save for Tomorrow. Now, of course, that title violated all of my sensibilities about saving. And any finance person will tell you that you save for retirement and you save for everything today, yesterday. You probably haven't saved enough. You probably should have started when you were 10, saving for retirement. So, of course, that title, I found that title intriguing. And the TED Talk talked about there's something called behavioral psychology in finance. And what it basically talked about is why it is that we don't save. It's the immediate gratification versus how did he refer to it, versus the sense of loss that we get for saving. Saving causes a sense of loss. Now, you might be saying to yourself right now, well, duh. But it all has to do with the way we are looking at saving. And one of the examples that the TED Talk person gave, and I'm going to go ahead and post the link to this TED Talk in the chat room, because one of the things about the TED Talks is that they're really short, but very informative. This TED Talk was 17 minutes. I listened to it 3 times, and it really is just fantastic. But one of the examples that it gave, he had everybody in the audience raise their hand and ask them whether or not they had insured their iPhones, which your iPhone is what, $700, right? $800, could be upwards of $1,000. And when we go get them, we don't think about the fact that that's why we insure them, is because they're so expensive to replace. And most everyone in the audience could raise their hand and said that they had their smartphones insured. And then he asked them about whether or not they had their life insurance in place if something were to happen. and if they had other forms of insurance in place that were very important for their lives. And of course, there were much fewer people who had insured their lives that way. And what's more important, obviously. So, but the TED Talk talks about the mentality that we have towards saving. And the point was not to beat people up for not saving, but the point was to understand why we don't save. And from an educational perspective, one of the things that helps us do things that we don't want to do is having an understanding of why we're not doing them. So I thought I'd share that as the personal finance tip of the day. Please take a look at that TED Talk. If you were having trouble saving or thinking about saving or thinking about doing the things that are very important, such as getting life insurance, even if it's just burial or something like that, don't save for tomorrow. Save for tomorrow today. We'll be back in a few moments.
Chicana Ranch is involved in helping youth through the snags along the pathway to adulthood. The last 8 years have created greater challenges. Having a president to parade perversion to our youth has generated the need for us to ramp up our character learning 100-fold. Today's youth are confused, and our goal is to give them a fresh understanding of creation, moral clarity, respect for authority. In short, restore absolutes and boundaries. Boys are born boys and girls are born girls, God's design. Right is right even when no one else is doing it. The Exceptional Conservative Network is underway to raise $10,000 to help advance this mission. Together, let's reverse the confusion aimed at our youth. Don't be a spectator. Go to our donation portal and make your financial contribution now. Your gift goes toward helping youth get clarity, moral clarity. Thank you.
I want everyone to know that Donovan Larkins, Pastor Donovan Larkins, is founder and president of Chicana Ranch Youth Foundation, which offers a sincere opportunity for you to protect children from molestation and sexual abuse and help abused children receive their healing. In addition, Pastor Larkins is joining forces with the Exceptional Conservative Network to raise awareness of the growing crisis of unsolved homicides, missing persons, and sex trafficking in urban America. Help us raise $10,000 to care for over 300 abused children at Chicana Ranch this summer and put an end to the grief and unnecessary loss of life of unresolved homicides, missing persons, and sex trafficking. Go to the Exceptional Conservative Network homepage at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com and donate today. I want to thank everyone for listening to the show this morning. I want to thank everyone who is in the chat, especially the one and only Tax Mama. Thank you so much for participating in the chat and being my guest today. You are fantastic. Remember to have a less taxing day. That's on behalf of Tax Mama. And I also want you to remember that this is important because it's your money.